Wine and Crime contains graphic and explicit content which may not be suitable for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
I have a bug bite on my neck.
You spent the day in nature. I don't blame you.
Let's just get through the names real fast. I'm Kenyon. I'm the most sober right now. As we begin.
I'm Lucy. I met for a little bridesmaid meeting this afternoon.
Yeah, Lucy's a little toasty.
I'm the most smartest.
Amanda,
I got creative with my fundraising today and did 3 bountiful shots of rum before
rum.
this. Yeah, but I didn't
Like
think
in
it
a row.
through. In a row, and I chased it with water. It was an all-around not smart situation.
It sounds disgusting.
But those 3 shots raised $750 for the Racial Justice Center in Omaha.
Woo!
So I feel
Nice.
pretty good about it.
Nice. Worth it.
And one of those was from me.
It was because Lucy tagged me in her receipt and just goes, I'm going to get you fucked up. So now I'm here to deliver.
All right, I need to remember to do that next time.
There will not be a next time with the shots.
Oh, there will be.
You're right.
Oh,
there probably
Kenyon,
will
if
be.
you do it during this episode, technically she has to take
That's
a shot
not
of
true.
rum
It ended
during
at
this
6.
episode.
It ended at 6.
How
It
much
is
do you want?
7:18.
$200. How much do you want? $200.
All right. But if they ask you to take another shot of rum, you got to get the money
Get
first.
the money. I'm good for it.
No, I'm not good for it. Is the problem.
If you start to get a little sober, if you start to sober up too much, I'm going to do it.
Yep. Here
All
we go.
right.
I'm
Oh,
excited.
flashing the boobies.
Oh, boy, there we
Okay.
go.
So at least we're going to have some fun because I think this episode's going to be real dark.
It's so sad. Why do you
It's
do this
sad.
to us?
So we have a very special fan pick brought to you today by Stella Coventry.
Stella!
Stella! That's a really cool name.
Amanda.
I'm not going to flash because I'm not wearing a bra.
I'm not flashing. I'm just flapping. It's so hot.
She's fapping.
I'm fapping. Wait, I'm not. I know
Stella.
what that means.
I don't know what that means either.
Masturbation.
Oh.
Like the sound that boys make when they're jerking off.
Oh, okay.
Oh, God.
Got it. If they don't have enough Jergens.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Stella has selected the topic of desert cold cases. Which
I wish it was
honestly-
cold in this room.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't done a desert episode before. Have we?
I don't think we
no,
have.
I don't think so.
I don't think
What
so.
an
and it's
interesting
fascinating.
terroir.
Mm.
The desert.
So let's get right into that, Amanda. What is our wine crime pairing for desert cold cases?
Well, it should come as no surprise to my friends today that I am not drinking wine tonight or I'll die in the middle of this episode. And if Kenyon really wants me to take another shot of rum, it's gonna cost her $2.
Worth it.
But I did pair this episode with a wine we have had before because it's like, it's so good. And also the label on it is so perfect. It's Wink Wine Club's Cowtown White Blend.
Yes.
And if you recall,
Yeah.
the bottle is like this beautiful sagey green, and then it has the skull, the horn skull, the horn animal.
like a
It's
cow.
like a cow.
The
like
horn animal.
a man cow.
A bull.
A bull. A bull.
I like man cow.
A man cow. And then Wink is also great. Here are some reasons why. 1, They're an online wine club that delivers wine directly to your door. So you can leave your pants in the laundry basket, my friend.
Yes.
2, they have an amazing special that is exclusive to our lovely listeners right now, where you can get 4 bottles of Wink wine for $29.95.
That is
really
mind blowing.
freaking
It's
good deal.
honestly a wine crime that we have offered this, and it will not last forever. So please, please get to it by going to trywink.com/wine and crime special, because it's a special for wine and crime listeners.
You're welcome. We
You're
worked really
welcome.
hard to negotiate it.
We did, and we crushed it. And
We've
after
got your best interests in mind.
we do. And after you get those 4 bottles for $29.95 with code Wine and Crime Special, become a member, because this bottle retails on the Wink website for $15.99, but member price is $13.99.
Save that $2.
That adds up quickly. So good. So this wine, just to tell you a little bit about it, has tasting notes of apple, butterscotch, like a Werther's original.
Oh, missed those.
Me too. Citrus and honeysuckle. It's very drinkable. Like, if I had only had this today, would not be in the state that I'm in right now at 13.6% ABV. It's a medium-bodied white, so it's going to pair really well with, like, you know, cheeses, kind of like those fatty, like rich cheeses.
Like Cheez-Its.
Like Cheez-Its or
Goldfish flavor blasted.
Flavor
cracker.
blasted goldfish with the powder.
That's what Amanda was eating 5 minutes ago.
Really?
Yes.
The best.
I go,
I
guess
also
what I'm
predicted
eating? And she
it.
just goes, goldfish. And I was like, am I so busted right now that I told you that and immediately forgot?
No, we just
this
know
bitch is
that
just
you
a psychic.
love the flavor blasted goldfish and the
They're
original
so good.
goldfish.
I like the original,
I like both.
if I'm being
I
honest.
think you
I'm
can
a
eat
classics
more
girl.
originals.
I
The
can't eat
flavor
more originals.
blasted dries my mouth out, but you know.
Anyway, she's fruit forward, a little earthy, a little woody, finish is nice and dry. And there's a lot of desert cow towns in California. And California is where this bottle is from. So it's also a cracker, which again, I ate and won't be doing as an act on this show. I've
I can
opened a
crack-
sparkling water.
My next, I'm drinking High Noons because I just discovered them and I love them.
Oh my God, can you
Yeah.
imagine high
Hashtag
noon in
not
the
an
middle
ad.
of the desert?
High
Oh my
noon
God.
should have been
How
our
had it would be.
Should have been. Oh,
Should've
shoot, I
been.
can't open it with my, I don't have any nails right now.
Oh, use your teeth.
I bit all my nails off.
Get it too.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Oh, God, that was sad.
Listen, you did it. It counts.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
Nice
Like that. Nice crack.
Nice crack. You can
So-
also use your Nice Pop wine key to crack things
You could.
when you bit all your nails off.
Oh, gal,
Yes,
been there.
because it has that little knife.
Been there. So cheers,
Little-
everyone.
Cheers.
Little lever. Cheers. I got a watermelon White Claw once again.
Oh, that's a good flavor.
If you're nothing if not consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, Lucy, what is our background and probably not psych for desert cold cases?
Shake them,
I
shake
always
them, shake
forget
them,
my
shake them,
bones.
shake them, shake them, shake them, shake them, shake them. Yes.
There's no
No
psych. There's no psych. I should just leave it out.
No psych.
So, general trigger warning, I will be talking quite a bit about decomposition. So, if you're a little
Yeah.
squeamish,
I'm ready, baby.
listen to
Speaking
something
of
else.
decomposition, I just want to let everybody know that we've seen that needle point and that cake of the hand
The
with
hand.
like the 5
I
stages.
love it.
It's gorgeous, and we never need it DM'd to us ever again.
I love it and I want it, but I don't have it yet, but I've seen it 6,000 times. So,
Yes. All of the
And
above.
also, we love you so much.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
that you think of us every time you see it.
I love that when you see decomposition and
You go,
And
the
cake
wine
art,
and crime gal.
you think of us. Because honestly, same.
That's really special.
I'm also sporting my Plan Ahead Salt Your Dead shirt.
It's so good.
It's really
And
comfy.
yes, we'll
I
be
love
having more in stock soon. Just also general proclamation. There are still COVID-related shortages for a
it's
lot
rough.
of
We're actually
our
getting hit with like more
suppliers.
now because of Delta.
I know. So our merch is it's shifting.
She's running
Some-
behind.
Some items are out of stock. Some sizes are out of stock, and that is we're aware of it. We're working as hard as we can to get those items to you, and some of it is really outside of our control.
And if there's something that's tempting you, maybe go online and order it like now before it inevitably runs out.
That is true. Yeah, if you're
Good
like
call.
thinking about something and you don't know, it might not be there in a month from now. So
Yeah.
get it while you can.
Absolutely. So back to decomp. So I'm going to open with an abstract of an article published in the National Library of Medicine by authors A. Galloway, W.H. Birkby, A.M. Jones, T.E. Henry, and B.O. Parks, entitled Decay Rates of Human Remains in an Arid Environment.
Oh, I love an arid environment.
I think I would love, even though I have like no actual connection to desert of any kind and have rarely spent any time in a
Oh,
desert,
it's cool.
It's cool.
I think I would
Not literally, but yeah.
love to be just like my body just like deposited in a desert.
Oh, sure.
You know, even as a living organism, that dry heat without the humidity, which we are so not used to here in the U.S. Midwest,
It's
Yeah.
very healing.
is refreshing, honestly.
Yeah, it is
The-
real
a-
fucking humid
A
in
dry
Kentucky.
dry heat is actually really lovely, I think.
Mhm.
So the environment of southern Arizona, with mild winters and hot, dry summers, produces great variability in decay rates of human remains.
Cool.
Summer temperatures, which range well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, induce
Dang.
rapid bloating as a result of the accumulation of decompositional gas.
Oh, gas bags.
Love a good gas.
Maybe
gas
I am
bag.
rescinding my previous statement.
Well, we'll get
Changed
to
my
it.
mind.
I invite you to reflect further at the conclusion of my
Okay.
segment.
Oh, you don't want to pop a beautiful festering bubble of gas?
I have enough gas that I have to deal with while I'm living. I don't want to deal with it.
Okay, my next sentence. However, in certain circumstances, the aridity can lead to extensive mummification. I feel like mummification is straight up your alley.
That is what I'm going for.
Ah.
I'm really a big history nerd, so it'd be very cool for like people hundreds of years from now.
Yeah, that'd be cool
to
because then
come
like,
across my remains and be like, wow, she did not have a balanced diet.
and then you could like curse people, which is cool.
Yeah.
Wow, this bitch was a mess. Okay, extensive mummification allowing for Kenyans preservation of remains for hundreds of years.
Cool.
Remains can retain a fresh appearance for a considerable time in the winter, but the onset of marked decomposition is rapid in the summer months. Bloating of the body usually is present 2 to 7 days following death. And again, this is in just like a hot environment, not necessarily super dry, which we'll get to it.
Okay.
Following this, within structures, there is frequent rapid decomposition and skeletonization. With outdoor exposure versus indoor exposure, remains are more likely to pass through a long period of dehydration of outer tissues, mummification, and reduction of desiccated tissue.
Would that
I love
also,
a good reduction.
Would that also be the difference between like being just like left out on the surface of the soil in the desert versus being buried? Because my case involves burial.
I would think that burial would retain more moisture than something just left on the surface.
Right.
Because also, as this article explains, something that's left in a really arid, hot environment within a building that provides not only like retained moisture and humidity, but also shade.
Yeah.
So flies and then subsequently maggots prefer shade, indirect beating sunlight.
Okay.
So there is actually a really big difference between a body left in the shade or in a building in the desert versus outside exposed to the elements and the sunshine.
Oh, interesting.
That makes a lot of sense.
Exposure of large portions of the skeleton usually does not occur until 4 to 6 months after death, if it's left like outside. Bleaching and exfoliation of the bone, which I thought was really cool.
I'm really into exfoliation, so.
Maybe not of your bone, because that also depletes you the bone DNA, as we discussed in our Bad to the Bones episode. So that begins at about 9 months exposure. Insect activity, including that of maggot and beetle varieties, may accelerate decomposition, but this process is greatly affected by location of the body, seasonal weather, and accessibility of the soft tissues, because as we know, they like that soft tissue more. Carnivores and other scavengers are also contributing factors, as are clothing or covering of the body, because clothing in effect sort of provides shade and protection. So if you
like
were
a little insulator.
yeah, if you were laid out there nude, you would decompose a lot differently than if you had clothes on.
And depending on probably the materials, like if you're wearing like linen, that probably would change
leather
versus like
Versus
latex.
leather. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Leather and lace.
Blush and bashful.
And bashful.
Elevation and latitude also play a role in these in the decomposition. And speaking of decomposers, in desert areas, you don't find as many decomposers as you would in more moist environments. You might find dung beetles, which there's still poop in your body after you die, so those dung beetles might just like get in there, get your poop.
Don't like that.
You might find flies and maggots. We've talked about flies before. They can like smell decomposing flesh from like fucking a billion miles away. Not literally, but like a long ways away.
Okay.
You got vultures, you got other scavenger birds, and you also have animals like coyotes. So these are things that might not only disrupt the cadaver by like eating it, but also like carry pieces away.
To different scenes.
Interesting.
So we'll get to that a little bit more too.
Vultures are so cool and so terrifying.
So scary.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
they're
they
gross.
know.
Oh,
They
yeah.
know it all.
Yeah.
They're know-it-alls. So this is from an NPR article about a body farm just outside of Grand Junction, Colorado, which is one of 7 body farms in the United States and is the only one in a semi-arid environment.
We need to do a tour.
We really do.
It's a lot easier said than done. I've looked into this.
I know. It's very difficult and we have we're of no scientific value to these people.
We're
so-
not journalists. We're not contributing
Yeah.
anything. We're just going to basically
be
look.
voyeurs.
if I promise to give them my money, can
Your-
we go?
Maybe. I don't know.
Your body, maybe if you sign a contract saying he'll donate your body.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd do it.
I
I'm
feel like
here.
it should come with a free tour if you donate your body.
I think so too. Whatever. There's no evidence of
There's
that
a punch
being a
card
real thing. A punch card.
for every limb you promise.
For every 9 people you get to sign up.
It's an MLM. It's a body part.
That would be an MLM that I would 100% fall for.
A BFMLM.
I would get what's the signature prize? A Cadillac with that decomp,
The pink
that
Cadillac.
decomp fucking
I would be
mural on
featured
it.
It's a pink
at the
hearse.
annual retreat.
pink hearse. We need to start this MLM. Put us in touch with their people. I'm
Or
sure
just
they
like-
need good marketing.
or
Kenny
just
and
like
I
a-
know you're writing it down, girl.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
writing it down.
Body
We
farm.
have so many ideas we need to actually try.
Pink hearse prize.
Like
Oh,
your
yeah.
wedding hashtag and family reunion t-shirt
Emporium.
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 Now with a brick and mortar store in Flushing, Queens.
Okay. Okay, quote. Usually bodies go from greenish to grayish to brown to black as generations of insects eat everything except for the skeleton, but that is not what will happen to the corpse that this body farm has named Mr. 1612.
Okay.
Because they
1612 project.
I think it's because it was buried. It's a male, Mr. buried in 2016 in December, so 1612.
Oh,
I think that's their naming
method.
methodology. Methylhistamine. Out here, the usual rules of decay don't apply.
Ooh.
Instead of turning gray, for example, his body might turn as bright orange as a traffic cone.
What?
Sir, your cone.
His skin will dry out and harden so much that bugs won't be able to chew through it. Out here in the desert, Mr. 1612 will likely become a mummy, and when he does, it'll look like he's decaying in slow motion.
Wow, cool.
What the fuck?
So I think the orange thing has something to do with the coloration as a result of like direct sunlight. I tried to Google and figure out where this orange pallor comes from, and I couldn't find anything. I'm assuming it's just because of like really bright sunlight on decaying, dried, super brittle human skin.
Sure.
But I'm not positive.
It probably
And this-
also might depend on like the race of the person and like the
I don't know. I don't
original
think
skin
once you've
tone
been-
and melanin level.
Once you've been baked and
maybe.
decomposed that long, I don't see how that would really be relevant. But I am a scientist, so I would know.
At a certain point of decomposition, I feel like it's difficult to tell the race of the person. I'm not sure if that's because like melanin itself breaks down with like decomposition. I don't know. I really don't know. But if anyone has any insight to that, I'd be very interested in hearing that. So
Yeah,
do
it's
email
tough.
us about
It
that.
is tough to Google because there's a lot of stuff about like if you eat too many carrots or whatever, which is obviously not what we're looking at.
Trust,
That did
I've
happen
tried
to
to
Helen,
Google the
though.
orange. I've tried to Google the orange. I haven't found anything.
Okay.
So this is a little explanation from a website called bioteamaz.com, which I'm pretty sure is like a
Arizona.
Yeah, I think it's like a biohazard cleanup crew in Arizona.
Cool.
So this is the quote. While heat speeds up the process of decomposition, it only does so up to a certain point. In extremely hot and dry temperatures, instead of decomposing, the body is actually mummified. With moisture from the body absorbed into the dry air, the skin grows tough and is hard to break through. Fly larvae, too, die off at temperatures between 104 degrees Fahrenheit and 122 degrees Fahrenheit, thus slowing down the breakage of body tissues and fluids even further. So if it's like super duper hot, the decomposition like actually, it doesn't stop, but it like slows way the fuck down.
Mm-hmm.
So back to this NPR article. About 700 miles south of the body farm in Grand Junction, in the Sonoran Desert of Arizona, the lessons from the Colorado body farm are all too relevant. Quote, there are literally thousands of migrants dying every year, says Bruce Anderson, a forensic anthropologist with the Office of the Medical Examiner in Pima County, Arizona. Pima, right? Not Pima.
I think Pima.
I'm
I
not
think
sure.
I'm gonna go with
It's Pima.
It's Pima. I'm
I
gonna
think
go
it's
with Pima.
We still have bones and bodies coming in, if not on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. Over the last 20 years, he says his office has worked on identifying the remains of almost 3,000 people known or thought to have crossed the border without documentation. Some of them were alive 10 minutes before Border Patrol found them, he says.
Oh my God.
Others have been
That's so
dead for
tragic.
decades. Many of these people likely died trying to cross the border into the U.S. An essential part of Anderson's work for the county medical examiner is figuring out when somebody died, because often the only clue that relatives can offer is when their loved one disappeared.
Yeah.
So, quote, if a skeleton is found in the Sonoran Desert and we think the person died between 1 and 2 years ago versus 5 or 20 years ago, that can save a lot of time in going through missing persons reports from those 2 time periods, says Anderson.
Oh, yeah,
narrows it down. Yeah.
It's particularly important for the cases that Anderson works on because while there's a single database for missing American citizens, there's a whole patchwork of missing persons lists for foreign nationals.
Oh.
Lists maintained by various consulates and independent organizations, and some of those records aren't even digitized.
Maybe we should work on that.
Digitize some records?
Maybe we
Well,
could have
only- I
one
don't
for
know.
like the whole hemisphere.
It's
at
2021. I don't think we have the technology.
I mean, there's work to be done on a lot of different sides of the issue, so I will be explaining the work that is being done on this specific research team's side, which is absolutely helpful. But I think it would take a lot of like diplomatic cooperation,
Right.
to actually come up with a database, and that is fraught with political
I'm
issues
sure.
also. So
I'm sure it's not as simple as digitize it.
Yeah.
Enhance.
Go
Right.
do it.
Scat. Shoo.
So Anderson says you literally have to have a person sit down with paper records or an Excel spreadsheet and look through descriptions of tattoos or crooked teeth or pink tennis shoes or yellow t-shirts. Narrowing down when a person died can mean the difference between identifying a body and having to bury it anonymously.
Wow.
And because the post-mortem interval, or the PMI, which we've talked about previously, is so crucial in all mysterious death cases, and a desert climate basically plays by totally different decomposition rules, the researchers at Colorado Mesa University are putting together new ways to measure changes in moisture, color, bloating, and texture of tissue that, with the help of weather data, would let them accurately calculate how many days a body has been outside in a climate such as this.
Science is nuts.
I know,
It
right?
is incredible what they can
It's
figure out.
So
It's incredible.
fucking cool.
I never stop being amazed. That's
I'm
why
always
I love
amazed.
true crime.
I'm always in wonder.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that goes beyond like
Internet research on my
Yeah.
couch.
yeah.
Right.
Like
That.
just like seeing something under a slide like in a microscope. Like that is where like the limit of my fucking understanding of science is, and it's just so cool.
I'm always in awe of just the drive and motivation of people who do like field research and like compile all of this data. And maybe I've just gotten super fucking lazy in my like work ethic, but it's really incredible what people are able to do and just like figure out. My
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Okay, so Melissa Connor, who is a scientist at this university, says, we want to narrow that estimate down as much as we can to help law enforcement figure out who these people might be. And she says local law enforcement call her office between 1 and 4 times a year for help identifying a body.
Wow.
Biologist Eric Hansen is using electricity to measure how much moisture a body has lost over time.
Whoa, cool.
Yeah.
I wonder how that works. Like, if it twitches, there's water in there.
Honestly, it didn't give
That is
it
so drunk.
It didn't give a lot of like information. Well, water and electricity. Water
I'm
and
on to
electricity relate to each other.
That's
I
what
mean,
I'm
she's
saying.
not
You
wrong.
can probably just like measure
I
like
heard it.
pulses.
She's not wrong.
She might not be wrong.
I'll take it.
So researchers Chrissy Baijant and, again, Melissa Connor have come up with a detailed scoring system to describe exactly how a body's skin quality changes as time goes on, using words like, oh my God, this is my favorite part, parchment, vellum, and burnt umber. There's even something they call pebbled mosaic.
This
which
it sounds like we're in like the paint aisle.
I know. I feel like I'm choosing a countertop.
Benjamin Moore.
I know it all sounds like really good.
Well, not pebbled mosaic, because that happens when skin sloughs off, leaving tissue islands behind.
Sir, you're sloth.
Basically what my foot looks like after my warp.
yeah.
Totally. Absolutely.
I have been scrolling right by those messages in the group thread.
Okay, so pebbled mosaic skin tissue islands. Bajant says that this is a hint that a body has been outside longer than initial estimates would suggest. The scientific data required by authorities to identify bodies of migrants is also crucial to accounting for those bodies in the first place. So a 2017 investigation by the Arizona Republic found that the U.S. Border Patrol tracked only those migrant bodies that its agents encountered, not those found by any other entity. So in 3 of the 4 U.S. states that border Mexico, which are Arizona, California, and New Mexico, an investigation found that migrant deaths exceeded the official count by 25% to nearly 300%.
Whoa.
So these are almost definitely being way undercounted, the amount of migrants who are dying trying to cross the border. This lack of data affects not only closure for families, but also policy-making decisions, because if lawmakers don't have any idea how many people are actually dying,
Right.
then how are they going to make really meaningful decisions on policies?
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah. University of Michigan Associate Professor Jason DeLeon and his team have been monitoring pig carcasses in the Arizona desert to gather information on not only decomposition, but also scavenging trends. Because as we know, pig carcasses are like super similar to human carcasses. Quote, he said that the higher the temperature, the sooner scavenging occurs. DeLeon also said that the experiments show how challenging it is to find and identify deceased migrants, particularly when their remains have been separated from any identifying personal items. So if you find just like a leg, like away from anything else, then
I mean, depending on where that person is from, there's probably like no previous record of their DNA.
if there is any DNA left, it could be a completely skeletonized DNA-less bone, depending on the environment.
Right.
So they're kind of figuring out like what kind of scavengers and predators are in which areas, where they might be likely to, you know, drag things.
Sure.
What their range would be.
They're looking for patterns here, basically. So just to wrap us up, the world's oldest artificially mummified human remains were recovered from what is now northern Chile in the Atacama Desert. And I've been there, and I put some photos on the drive of myself and my family
I'm
in
so
the Atacama Desert.
Oh.
I want to go to there. Oh, look at you. Look at your cute.
And there's also a
Cuties.
picture of my mom posing by a cactus that looks like a huge schlong.
Oh, I did that in Arizona. It's the best.
It really does. Wow.
It's so
With
cute.
one
It's
ball
got-
way bigger than the other.
Just like real
It's
life.
accurate. Yeah. So these mummies are known as the Chinchorro mummies of the Chinchorro culture, and they date back to about 5050 BCE, which is a full 3,000 years before the
Christ
Egyptian
even.
Egyptian mummies.
That's
wild.
So
That's so
fucking
old.
cool.
And it's really, really fucking cool because apparently the Atacama Desert is like known to be one of the most dry environments on the planet.
Wow.
And I can tell you from personal, I went through a lot of Vaseline when I was there.
She's dry.
Also, we were hiking. I had to take, like, the air was so fucking thin. I'd take, like, little half baby steps and just go so slow because it was Like, when we first got up there, I saw a llama and I was chasing it because,
Got
of course, you chase a llama.
Yeah.
And I went about 15 feet and I almost threw up.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like, the air, like, I wasn't, because we flew from the capital up there. I was not really thinking
Acclimated.
about how
Sure.
fucking thin the air was. I almost
Yeah.
barfed in front of our whole bus.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
Nobody like really told us or warned us how high up Johannesburg is in terms of elevation. Because when you're there, it's not like mountainous, so it doesn't look like it's that high up.
Sure.
But it fucking is. And I had like horrible headaches the first like month we were there.
That's
Jeez.
And then somebody was like, oh yeah, it's fucking altitude.
Yeah.
You'll get used to it. And I did.
This is so fucking high up. And actually, we can put some of these pictures on the drive, but there's a picture of my whole family standing in front of this lake. And the lake looks like it's right behind us because it's so clear, but it's actually like a mile behind us.
Wow.
Like that's how fucking
pretty.
the air is so thin. It's so beautiful, but it's so disorienting because it is so thin. It's not anything like we're used to. It's a completely different environment. It's so fucking
Weird.
So cool. I want to go to there.
Let's do it.
Can everybody
Live
get
show,
fucking
Desert
vaccinated?
Mountain.
And can we share more of our vaccines instead
Right.
of waiting to get vaccinated and then having to give everyone booster shots because keeps giving time for the virus to mutate, and so then we can actually share the vaccines that we have to other countries, and then we can travel again? That would be great. Thanks.
Yep. PSA from Kenya. That's great.
I'm really sick of being in one place for so long.
Yeah. Yep. So about 29% of these Chinchorro mummies were actually mummified naturally because, like I said, there are the world's oldest artificially mummified humans. And I think that all that means is that they were like prepared in some way for burial.
Ah.
So most of these mummies had their organs like removed and replaced with like other things to kind of like take their shape back.
Sure.
But 29% of them were actually mummified naturally, I think by just kind of leaving them out. And there's another photo on the drive of what looks like just a person just kind of hanging out on a mountainside.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a little explanation from Wikipedia. In northern Chile, environmental conditions greatly favor natural mummification. The soil is very rich in nitrates, which when combined with other factors such as the aridity of the Atacama Desert, ensure organic preservation. Salts halt bacterial growth because the Chile is on the ocean.
Halt your salt.
Halt your salt. Plan ahead, halt your salt.
Salt your bacterial growth.
Also, another thing that I read was like 90% of their diet was fish. So like ocean fish. So they really had a lot of salt in their diets, in their bodies, in their landscape.
Yeah.
So salt halts bacterial growth. The hot, dry conditions facilitate rapid desiccation, evaporating all bodily fluids of the corpses.
Wow.
Soft tissues, as a result, dry before they decay, and a naturally preserved mummy is left.
So cool.
Even though the Chinchorro people did not mummify their bodies artificially, I mean, like some of them did. This is sort of, I don't know, it's Wikipedia. I don't know. It's whatever. The bodies were still buried wrapped in reeds with grave goods. So
Cool.
they weren't mummified the same way that Egyptians mummified their dead. They weren't like wrapped. They
The
didn't
goal
like
wasn't necessarily mummification, but they were prepared
Yeah.
post-mortem.
and subsequently preserved for like a long fucking time. So that's my understanding of it. So essentially, all of this is to say that deserts create very unique challenges for forensic investigators, and just like the decomposition rates, the PMI, it's all going to be really different because of the environmental factors. It's actually really fucking cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And that might sort of, contribute to some of these cold cases because it might be more difficult for investigators to figure out like when they died, how they died, whatever. So
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well,
That's my
darn.
seg.
All
So
right.
cool.
Well done.
Thanks.
Let's hear a quick word from our sponsors, and then let's get real bummed out.
Okay.
So you all know I love going to the salon because when I paint my nails myself, it looks like my nieces did it. It's
Not the
great.
best.
It's not the best. And I just always assumed I really could not have like a salon quality mani from home and that I had to go to the salon. But guess what? This is no longer the case. I got the Olive and June Mani system, and now I am confident that my DIY manis can look salon perfect, that they can last 7 or more days without chipping. And everyone always asks me what salon I got them done at, and I'm like, Shyamalan Twist, did it myself this time.
Oh, and not to mention you're saving a ton of money by not going to get your nails done.
Yup.
So this Olive and June Mani system, it's got everything you need. It's got a poppy, which we've talked about before. It's ingenious. It's like a rubber handle, keeps your hands from shaking. It lets you paint your dominant hand, like, with ease. This polish is so cute. They come in all sorts of different colors. Every season they have a new palette. I really like to do the ombre nails.
Yeah, your mix and match is really strong.
I mean,
it's good.
Not to toot my own horn, but... And it's so nice to have a little me time. And when I paint my nails with my Olive and June manicure system, it's just like, it's my time. It's my self-care time. It's really, I just like being meticulous. And like I said, I don't get frustrated because I got that poppy. And even my right hand, because I'm right-handed, comes out looking amazed.
Yeah, the dominant hand, let me tell you.
Really. So now you can get 20% off your first Mani system with our code GALS.
Yes, you can, because your new nail life is here. Like Lucy said, get 20% off your first Mani system when you use promo code GALS, G-A-L-S, at oliveandjune.com, because we're done with expensive and bad manis. This is the new us, oliveandjune.com, promo code GALS, and treat your nails.
Trade 'em. So this past weekend, I was the maid of honor in a very close friend's wedding. And as such, I got to sort of help her, guide her through the wedding planning process. And fun fact, she actually had to plan 2 weddings because of a global event that I won't mention. But it's, as a guest at a wedding, it's just like that day, that evening, you know, you cut the cake, you walk down the aisle, blah, blah, blah. You really don't think about all the stuff that went into this day.
Right.
But in all those moments leading up to your wedding day, here's the most important thing to remember: Zola.
Yes.
It will save your sanity. So why Zola? Whatever kind of wedding you're planning, Zola.com is the one place to start. They've got your back for all of your wedding needs. That's why over 1 million couples have planned their weddings with Zola. It can help you find a wedding venue. Zola will give you personalized recommendations. Their gift registry system is absolutely amazing. It's just all in one place. You can find everything you need, from like cookware, you know, plates, dishes, that stuff, to like cash, like a honeymoon fund.
Yeah.
And they also offer stunning save the date designs, invitations, and they can help you have a matching wedding website. So everything's in one spot, everything's cohesive, and it's gorgeous. It is so easy to use. If you are planning a wedding right now, or if maybe you're a bridesmaid in an upcoming wedding, maybe just give the bride a little nudge and be like, hey, guess what? This can make your life a whole lot easier.
For real. Number 1 tip, start with Zola. Go to zola.com/gals today and use promo code SAVE50 for 50% off your save the dates. Zola is the one place to start your wedding day, and that's zola.com/gals, code SAVE50, and treat your nuptials.
Trade them.
Are we ready for my case?
Rarely.
I'll say this for it. It fits the brief.
Well, as it should. Don't we both have fan-picked cases today?
That is correct. I forgot about that. I'll say this. It fits the brief.
The
And
brief?
It's a fanfic.
God.
It's a desert-related cold case.
I should hope so.
All right. So,
Oh my God.
this case takes place. I'm catching up.
Nailed
Actually,
it.
you know what? You know what?
Uh-oh.
What?
What?
I think Amanda needs to do another shot for justice.
Well, show me the receipts.
Oh, I'll send you the money. You know I'm good for it.
Do it.
No, you gotta pay up front. If they want to ask you to take your top off, you gotta get the money first.
All right,
Amanda,
I'll send you the
if you
link.
do one now, I will do one with you.
Fuck yeah, we're doing it. I have a cucumber salad
Oh,
As
that's
your
a
chaser?
That's a good chaser.
and a bubble water that's flavored.
Look at my manicure, too. Looks
Oh,
good.
so cute. I need to get one.
Okay.
I did it myself with Olive and June.
Olive and June.
Oh, there's a freebie for you.
It's a freebie.
It's a freebie.
Clutching
Okay.
my vodka. It's a
I'm
freebie.
ready.
Okay, do
Okay.
it.
Cheers.
1, 2, 3.
Ugh.
Oh no.
Lucy is much better at doing shots than the rest of us.
Yeah.
I keep mine in the freezer.
That was too smooth,
The
maybe.
colder it is, the smoother it goes down.
Yeah. All right. How's that cucumber working out for you?
It's really good.
Okay. I'll have a shot of blah, blah, blah with a cucumber chaser.
With a cucumber back.
Pickle
Cucumber back.
I'll have a Benedict cucumber box, please.
Okay. Get your laughs out now.
I'm going to be trashed by the end of your case. I'm so sorry, fanfic.
Maybe I'll finish this gummy.
Okay. We got to get on the same level.
So,
Eat it, eat it, eat it, eat it,
down the hatch.
eat it, eat it.
So this case takes place in the city of Albuquerque.
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 Albuquerque,
Ugh.
New Mexico, which we almost moved to.
I love Albuquerque
It's beautiful.
so fucking much.
Fucking fun.
I've never been, but I would like to go.
Oh, it is exquisite.
Mhm.
I love it.
This includes within its city limits portions of large elevated landmass known as the West Mesa.
Yep.
On True Crime
West
Nerds.
table.
Okay.
Mesa means table.
What are you
Okay.
doing for El Nino?
Nino. Nothing. We're leaving the little boy alone.
True Crime Nerds already know where I'm going with this. The West Mesa Bone Collector.
But
Oh,
I am the
no.
worst true crime host ever
Yeah.
and never hear of any of these extremely famous cases.
Very famous
Are
case.
insane.
I'm like a baby with just really hardcore object permanence. I'm just
Yeah.
always experiencing everything for the first
Yeah.
time.
It's true. All right. So until recently, the West Mesa was relatively undeveloped. But in the past couple decades, as Albuquerque's population has grown, there has been a massive increase in housing development in the lower portions of the mesa.
Yeah.
Gotta spread out.
Better call Saul.
Whereas previously, this desolate area was more likely to be the site of mobile home communities, these new subdivisions are aimed at more affluent buyers with names like Laurelwood, Westgate Heights, and Paradise Hills.
It's a lot of hot
Plains.
words.
I also just want to take a moment to recall
White pains.
the names of some housing complexes that we saw in China and also
Oh, no.
that I saw in South Africa. So, Lucy, do you remember the complex Melrose Place in China?
Wait.
Actually,
awesome.
yes. Oh.
And also,
It was in a horrifically developed part of the city.
Yeah.
It was like mostly empty.
yes.
I remember distinctly walking past. It wasn't called a hospice, but it was absolutely a hospice. It was like a
And there was-
storefront hospice.
Oh,
Yes, there were just
You could watch old
floor-to-ceiling
people
windows.
die in hospital beds, like on
Wait.
the
what?
street.
Yeah, it's true.
It was really fucking weird.
It was like a panoramic storefront window and then just a hospital inside.
Hospice.
Yeah.
We watched old people expire in the
I-
storefront windows. It was fucking weird.
Anyway, so there were housing complexes in China called Melrose Place, and there was another one on the way to Changsha that was called Beverly Hills 90210.
Yes.
I don't remember that one, but it's perfect.
And then in South Africa, right by our house, there were two, and one was called Tequila Sunrise, and the other was called Sunset Boulevard. And they were like across the street from each other.
Amazing.
Anyway, so I love fucking the names of subdivisions.
Commercialism is
I
so
love it.
fucking shallow. Okay.
So, but in the midst of the rush to develop the West Mesa, the 2008 economic collapse occurred, halting construction on several housing developments that had already broken ground. I'm getting very Goldfinch vibes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So one particular site caused residents of the Mesa to complain that the abandoned construction was causing flooding in the area because basically they had like disrupted all of the
Plants and
life
things that
would
hold
absorb
the soil down.
the water. Yeah. So in response, the developers agreed to build a retaining wall and retention pond to divert the water from nearby subdivisions so that the
You know what?
flooding
Can I just say one thing?
No.
God.
Not on this show.
Okay. This is a remnant from my editorial-based expertise of the Navajo magazine that I edit for. So I read a lot of articles about the Navajo reservations and like overgrazing and herding with vehicles and like soil erosion and fucking up of the natural waterways. Like the extent to which human activity has depleted the land of these natural systems is fucking insane.
Yeah.
Well, and the fact that they're disproportionately targeting reservation lands is also environmental racism, which is super great.
And or the fact that the natives are the only ones noticing these changes because it's not just affecting native lands, it's affecting all lands. It's the ability of the earth to like absorb water and I don't know. It's just like fucking gross.
It's scary.
It's
scary.
not great. And right
It's
now
scary.
we're
human
talking about
human activity is like absolutely fucking up all of our natural systems.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm drunk, but that's what I'm saying.
Okay. So I agree. And right now we're talking about building a shit ton of sort of cheap subdivisions. And in the urban sprawl of Albuquerque.
Applicable.
Yeah. So this project had the unintended consequence of unearthing some things that had been surreptitiously buried in the area. So in February of 2009, a local woman was taking a walk near the site of the new retention pond when her dog, Ruka, discovered what she believed to be a human femur.
Good girl, Ruka. Good girl.
So this woman reported her discovery to the police, who launched a search for more human bones in the area. And after weeks of digging in the nearly 100-acre stretch of land that was the site of the halted development, police found the remains of 11 victims.
11? Like
11.
1-1.
Yeah,
No.
in one area.
I do not like that.
So from this point, it took them nearly a year to conclusively identify all of the victims, but they eventually did identify all of them, which is pretty amazing. And I think that's because, again, they were buried and not just left exposed, as we've learned. So the victims were Jamie Barella, aged 15, Monica Candelaria, age 22, Victoria Chavez, 26, Virginia Cloven, 24, Selania Edwards, 15, Cinnamon Elks, 32, Doreen Marquez, 24, Julie Nieto, 24, Veronica Romero, 28, Evelyn Salazar, 27, and Michelle Valdez, 22. And Michelle was also 4 months pregnant at the time of her death.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's horrific. So all of these women had gone missing between 2001 and 2005, which is very interesting. Most of them were Hispanic or Latinx. Selania Edwards was the only African-American victim, and she had run away from her foster home in Oklahoma and somehow ended up in the Albuquerque area. So, according to police, 10 of the 11 women were sex workers, and the one who was not, 15-year-old Jamie Barella, had disappeared in 2004 along with her older cousin, Evelyn Salazar, who was also another victim. So these two disappeared together, and, you know. Yeah. So basically, Jamie left the house after telling her mom that the two of them were going to the park, and then they never returned.
Ugh, sad.
So the discovery and identification of the bodies was at first a massive story in Albuquerque because like a woman walking her dog finds a fucking human
11
leg
bodies.
bone, and then they find 11 bodies buried in a residential housing complex.
I mean, that's news right there. That's
news.
So some local news sources even referred to it as the crime of the century.
Oh, that's never been said before.
But curiously, the story seemed to fade from the public consciousness fairly quickly. It has now been picked back up within the true crime
community
sphere. So Dirk Gibson, a professor at the University of New Mexico who has written 2 books on serial killers, stated in an interview that, quote, there hasn't been the degree of public fear and alarm that you might expect. There has been very little publicity. There's a sense of physical remoteness. This place was very removed. A combination of remoteness of time and geography made it so that there has been little pressure on the police to investigate, end quote. But like, I would argue that the remoteness is really more psychological.
Sure.
Because of like the race and class of the victims.
Yeah, the remoteness is just referring to how much we care about what happened.
Right. It's like ultimately gross. It's not that remote of a place. It's like within the confines of the city.
Right.
Yeah. It's because they were young women of color sex workers.
Mm-hmm. If a pretty white girl would have disappeared, it would
have
11
been a matter
white girls
of geography.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It would be
a sensation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
It would have been like worldwide, honestly.
Oh, Zaddy brought a spindrift or windrift or whatever they're called.
Good job,
Zaddy. Good job. Okay, another crack. Oh, all right. And the emphasis placed by the police in press conferences on the fact that most of the victims had been sex workers and also drug users likely also increased this distance that most residents felt because they were
they lived a high risk lifestyle, so they asked for it. Yeah,
right. Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's super common for serial killers to target vulnerable people or anything. It's not like that's a textbook or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's fine. So as the years passed, the story of the West Mesa serial killer or the West Mesa bone collector also faded from public consciousness simply because of the lack of progress on the case. In part, this could be because the police stopped prioritizing the case after the early days, but also the known crime scene, like where they were buried, provided very little to go on. There were like the bodies, but that's probably not where they were killed. And so there's just like, they weren't able to really find any other physical or forensic evidence besides the bodies themselves.
Okay. And so since they had no idea where these bodies came from or like who brought them there.
Right.
As soon as that area was publicized and the killer was probably like, oh, nope, can't take them there anymore.
Right. Right. Well, it was found in 2009 and the last victim was had gone missing in 2005.
Oh, okay.
So it had been a few years since the killer had gone to that location, and we will get to it.
Okay.
Medical examiners have been unable to determine how many of the victims had been killed, although police suspected strangulation because there didn't seem to be any bullet wounds on what was left of the remains.
Wait, how many had been killed versus had died naturally before being there?
How, in what manner they had each been murdered.
Oh, how? Okay.
Yeah.
They
were all murdered and buried.
Mm-hmm.
But it was how did they actually die? And the police...
You said how any, and I heard how many.
I also heard how many, but I'm also extremely drunk.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So the police suspect strangulation. There was no forensic evidence at the scene aside from the bodies themselves, and although a reward was offered for information related to the case and numerous tips came in from the public, nothing led to anything really conclusive.
Right.
But a few potential suspects did emerge from the investigation, and here is where we can speculate wildly, and I just want to preface everything with allegedly.
Mm-hmm.
So at one point, police considered a man named Ron Irwin with an E.
I don't trust it.
Go on the drive. There's a photo of this
Like
man.
Irwin?
No.
Oh, Irwin. E-R.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The guy in Mayor of Easttown
Yes!
who plays the love
boyfriend.
interest. Is that Richard?
He was the guy from Memento,
He's British, isn't he?
right?
Maybe. I don't know, but that looks like him.
It does, kind of. Actually, he could play him.
100%.
If they were ever to actually find this man guilty,
just revive that character from Murder, and you got it.
Mm-hmm. So he was a person of interest in the case.
A POI.
Yeah. He is a photographer who lives in Joplin, Missouri, but frequently traveled to Albuquerque for the New Mexico State Fair, which is held very close to where the bodies were discovered. So he had a link to Albuquerque, even though he lives in Missouri. In 2010, police obtained a warrant to search Irwin's house, and he had no fucking idea he was even a person of interest yet when they got that warrant.
Yeah.
I think is what I read. Along with other properties he owned, and reportedly they seized tens of thousands of photographs that he had taken because he's a fucking professional photographer.
Okay.
So like every single photograph has to be studied to see if it's evidence, you know?
Oh, God.
But ultimately they were unable to tie him to the murders, and he was even cleared as a suspect after a year.
So they just didn't ever circle back.
Well, hold on. So there's very little information publicly available as to what led police to suspect him in the first place.
I was going to say, I don't, okay, I guess, but.
So the only thing that I could find is that there is speculation that Irwin is connected to a series of suspicious photographs of unidentified women, possibly sex workers, who all appear to be unconscious in those photographs.
Yeah. That'll do it.
That
will do it.
So I put these photos, I debated it, but I put the photos on the drive, and I think we should put them on the blog because police have asked for the public's help in identifying these women.
Okay.
These women remain unidentified. And for that reason, I think we should put it on the blog in case it helps identify them.
That's fair.
It's disturbing to look at, though.
It's very disturbing.
FYI, before you go, oh, God.
There isn't any gore. They look like they're sleeping, but knowing what we know
knowing
from
the context
makes it very, very disturbing.
But it does show their full face.
Yep.
So if you recognize them, then yes, this might be helpful.
Right. Then please let the Albuquerque Police Department know about it. Mm-hmm. And also us, so that we can follow up on their asses if they don't research it. So anyway, I think that is, again, speculation. For that reason, I think we should include their photos. Otherwise, I would not be including photos of like unconscious people on the blog.
No.
But anyway,
it's disturbing, but it could be helpful.
It could be helpful. So police released the photos to the public and asked for help in identifying the women. None are the West Mesa victims. None are linked to the bodies that were found, which is why he's been cleared, although I'm sure he remains on someone's radar unless, like, maybe, I don't know, he was doing some sort of
art project
piece
with consent.
But I don't know. That being said, I couldn't find any specifics on how they were able to officially clear him, but he did appear to cooperate with investigators during that year that he was a person of interest, and he provided travel receipts and other documents via his lawyer to investigators.
Okay.
Another man who emerged as a primary suspect in the case actually died in 2006 before the bodies were found.
Oh, okay.
So Lorenzo Montoya lived less than 2 miles from the West Mesa burial site and had a long history of violence against women.
Wow.
Surprise, surprise. In December of 2006, 39-year-old Montoya began chatting online with a 19-year-old named Sharika Hill. He and Sharika arranged for her to come to his mobile home ostensibly to perform a dance for him in exchange for money. It was sex work arranged online that they had to
Yeah.
Yeah.
To hide it.
couch.
Whatever. Not abnormal.
Right. Sharika was driven to Montoya's home by a man named Frederick Williams, who is described by some sources as her boyfriend, others her pimp, others her sex trafficker. I'm guessing the correct answer is all of the above.
Yeah.
'cause
Could be somewhere in the middle there.
Yeah, none of those things are mutually exclusive. So Williams waited outside in the car while Sharika went into the house with Montoya. But I don't think Montoya knew that Sharika had someone waiting for her.
Oh,
Which is
okay.
key. But when an hour passed and she had not come back out of Montoya's house, Williams grew concerned and decided to go inside, bringing his gun along with him. And as he neared the house, Montoya stepped out and also was brandishing a gun. And then Williams, in self-defense, shot and killed Montoya.
Ah.
And then Williams went inside looking for Sharika, and he found her dead
Oh.
inside Montoya's house.
Jesus.
So she had been, it's so horrific, guys. She had been bound with duct tape and strangled, and it appeared that Montoya had been in the process of getting ready to transport her body in his car. So I'm guessing there was some sort of tarp or like carrying
Yeah.
device.
Oh, that's sad.
And Frederick Williams was just like waiting outside
Yeah.
for her while this was
Just, like,
happening
didn't
and
know.
didn't know.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Ugh.
During the investigation into the West Mesa victims, investigators took a second look at Lorenzo Montoya and considered the possibility that Sharika may not have been his first victim. So Ray Schultz, who was Albuquerque's police chief at the time the bodies were discovered, stated about Sharika's murder, quote, "It seemed like he knew what he was doing. He was very well planned and orchestrated, and that is what is worrisome about this." So this was not this man's first time.
He was clean about it.
He was clean. This was not his first time, wrapping up a body or whatever.
Right.
Oh, that's fucking gross.
Ugh.
Still, no hard evidence links Montoya to the specific victims. It's not like they have any of his DNA at the burial site or anything like that.
Sure. This is
It's just,
a little more circumstantial, but
yeah, he's definitely killed a sex worker and was preparing to transport her, and it seemed like it wasn't his first time. And he lived 2 miles from the site. But now he's dead, so we can't get a confession. Another man who is still considered a suspect in the murders is Joseph Blee, I think it's, or Blea?
Blea?
Joseph B. So he came to the attention of investigators. Oh, actually, take a look at this motherfucker first.
Oh no.
And again, he might be innocent,
Ugh.
but he's guilty of other horrific crimes.
He's guilty of this haircut.
He's
My God.
a horrific human being, so we can make fun of him as much as we want. He has
Lorenzo?
that
no
hair.
Joseph.
No, Blea.
Well,
Blea.
Lorenzo is also a murderer. The only
The
one we don't
haircut
know
is
for
just
sure is Erwin.
Such a choice.
Oh,
you know what that haircut is?
no.
That is the Heaven's Gate cult haircut.
Yes.
So it's a Heaven's Gate haircut and a Heaven's Gate glasses, I would say.
And a Robert Durst dead eyes.
Yeah.
He's got Robert Durst eyes
Heaven's Gate
behind
dash
like
a Durst.
tiny, like thin framed glasses.
Oval.
Really small.
It's really not great.
Frown,
No.
like an aggressively striped shirt, and his haircut is just Dark Ages Italian peasant.
With ducktail.
Mm-hmm.
Woo.
No, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
He's really
Oh, no.
creepy and gross. So we do not like this man.
No,
No,
I
we
don't like it.
He came to the attention of investigators only a week after the first bones were discovered when a woman named April Gillen called the police and suggested that they look into her ex-husband in connection to the case. And
Yep.
if you have a feeling about somebody in your life,
Call.
call it in. The Albuquerque Police Department were already extremely familiar with Joseph B., whatever the fuck his last name is. He had previously been arrested and charged with the rape of a 14-year-old child who was an acquaintance of his family. However, this case was eventually dropped, probably because they didn't want to put the girl through the trial.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Additionally, his DNA had been discovered on a sex worker who had been found murdered on the street in 1985. But he was never charged with a crime in this case, even though his DNA was found on the victim. But it was 85, and he just was like, well, yeah, she's a sex worker, whatever. So just to confirm, the last victim in this case is 2005, and he has been linked to a case of a murdered sex worker back in 1985.
Yeah.
So that feels great.
Who the fuck
Yeah.
knows
He's just been out and
what
about
he's
all
done
this
in
time. Yeah.
You don't just kill
Decades.
someone once and then kill someone else 20 years later.
Right.
After his ex-wife's call to police, they spent 4 days tailing him. And officers assigned to this task wrote in a report that, quote, he appeared to be stalking, and this is their words, he appeared to be stalking prostitutes but never approached them. Well, in the, few days that they were tailing him, but, maybe he took a while before he did approach them. Maybe he knew he was being tailed.
Yeah, maybe he noticed that someone was watching him.
Right.
And if he thinks that these women are people that aren't going to be sought after if they've disappeared, then
it's classic
and that
victim
is
profile.
That is the case for many of them. Who the fuck knows? Oh my God, who the fuck knows?
At least 2 decades. So when police eventually searched his home, they found women's jewelry and underwear, but they couldn't link it to anyone specifically. Right. His current wife, so this man's been married at least twice. Amanda's so triggered.
With those glasses? With that haircut?
With that murder?
With that background?
I just... Carry on.
Yeah. So
there's clearly a no psych.
His current wife, Cheryl, also confessed to police that she and her daughter had in the past found pieces of clothing and jewelry around the house that didn't belong to them.
Okay, this is what we mean when we say if you suspect someone in your life, call it in. We don't mean call the cops on people because you're being a Karen or being a racist. I meant someone. Oh, I know what you meant. Yeah. That's why I'm clarifying it. If someone is hiding scraps of panties and things,
if you're finding random pieces of jewelry around your house from,
it's
not were maybe left by your mom's recent husband,
if you're finding locks of hair and other similar trophies, call it in.
Yeah. Or if you have a really, really horrible suspicion of your cousin, uncle, whatever.
Yeah, your kunkle.
Your kunkle, call it in.
Really any man in your life.
Yeah. All right. If your ex came home covered in blood one night.
He didn't hit a deer and then try to revive it. Okay, that's not what happened.
Yeah. So
don't teach him how to use bleach.
Nope.
At 1 a.m.
But also go ahead because that's no match for luminol.
I mean, teach a man to fish, but also take note.
Yeah, write it down. So the only piece of evidence discovered in the search of the burial site besides the actual victims' bodies that may directly tie to Joseph is a plant tag for a spearmint juniper, which I definitely have in my yard.
Yum.
So this plant is not native to the area, but one was found on the burial site, and it was planted near Virginia Cleven's remains.
Okay.
And Joseph worked as a landscaper, and his business records showed that he bought plants from nurseries in town that carried that particular variety of juniper, which I don't know how common that variety is, but...
incredibly rare.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. But yeah, then he fucking so it's possible that he planted a tree next to one of the victims.
To cover it or as a memorial?
Maybe a little bit of both.
Who knows?
Ugh, I hate
Maybe
that.
so he could find his plot again. I don't know.
Maybe he was trying out that thing that we always get tagged in where it's
horticulture.
if you murder someone, plant an endangered plant species over the body because then legally they can't dig it up. And it's like if they bring out a cadaver dog and remains are under there, they can probably still legally
If you
dig
can
it up.
buy that plant at a local nursery,
Then they
it's
can
probably
dig it
not
up.
in danger.
And they can dig it
They
up.
can dig it up.
So, despite this plant business and how fucking creepy and horrible this rapist man is, police were never able to put together a solid case against him for charging him with the West Mesa murders.
I mean,
Then, in 2010, a rape kit that had been collected in 1988 after a 13-year-old girl was raped near her middle school.
my God. Oh, my God.
So, she was raped in 1988. This evidence in this kit was tested in 2010.
No.
And it linked to this man who was already suspected in the murder of a woman in 1985. So if they had tested it in 1988, they could have put him away.
Wow.
Did they have that testing in 1988?
Well, I think so.
They
Enough.
sure as fuck had it before 2010.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Even if they didn't have the DNA testing capacity that we have now,
Fucking
they had it
ridiculous.
because it really became prevalent in the early 90s. So they didn't have it much long after.
At least by the early
I've seen forensic files.
2000s.
Yeah. Every episode of Forensic Files is from the early 90s, and it all pulls fibers and DNA. Dino DNA.
So anyway, it was a match. So he had raped this 13-year-old child.
Ugh.
And was caught. So he was arrested and charged with this rape and also pled no contest to charges that he had raped 2 women and another child between 1990 and 1993.
Oh, good.
So Joseph Blee, or whatever the fuck his name is currently serving a 90-year prison sentence for these multiple rape charges. So at least he is currently in prison and is not going to get out of prison.
Put away. Yeah.
If this guy did do it. He denies any involvement in these murders. But who knows?
He's like, I'm a rapist, not a murderer.
I only murdered that one.
I would
that I wasn't
never.
caught for in 85.
Mhm.
Okay.
I haven't been murdering sex workers in Albuquerque for 2 decades.
I haven't gone murdering in years.
Because you can't prove it.
So Albuquerque Police Chief Mike Geyer, who took over after Ray Schultz stepped down, has made numerous trips to speak to Joseph Blee or Blay, and stated in a 2018 interview that, quote, if there's something there and he wants to let go of those demons, hopefully it's someday before he meets his maker. He's not a young man anymore. So he keeps going to this prison to talk to
Being
this
like,
guy to
you're
see if he'll
gonna
confess.
die. Confess. Oh.
So another potential lead came when George Walker, a private investigator hired to work on the case, began receiving mysterious phone calls and emails from someone claiming to know who the killer was, but he was never able to identify who was contacting him, and it went nowhere. So this one isn't so much of a lead as just like an interesting side note. You know, like a lot of loonies will call and be like, I know who the killer is, and then provide no other information. But this investigator has stated, quote, there's a possibility the killer has come and gone. Serial killers move. That's why they don't get caught. If he didn't get caught, I'm sure there are more victims somewhere. He could possibly be on the loose in New Mexico or another state.
Okay.
And like, yeah, he could be.
Yeah.
It could be fucking anyone. It has also been theorized that there is another grave site somewhere near Albuquerque that contains the bodies of additional victims that went missing in the same time period, because apparently during this time period of 2001 to 2005 in Albuquerque, like a disproportionate number of like known sex workers went missing compared to like previous years.
Well,
so-
also, what I would say about like specifically desert cases, like from what I've researched, like you kind of have to go out searching for it because so much of it is like arid wilderness, like desert landscape. So if people aren't reported missing, like a lot of sex workers, for example, indigenous people, for example,
then they just won't know.
then they just wouldn't know they're missing in the first place. So no one would be out looking for them, and they would like literally never be found.
Right.
And that's kind of one of the unique
predators
aspects
are banking on.
Totally.
Yeah, it's one of these unique aspects of this particular landscape is because it's so fucking desolate that if you're not looking, you're never going to find it.
Although this guy, the West Mesa bone collector, whoever he is, was burying people. He wasn't taking the risk to like go out way in the desert. He was literally burying them in an abandoned residential housing, like an abandoned building site for like McMansions and cul-de-sacs.
Yeah, he's not like being,
He's
not being
that
about,
cagey.
He's more about convenience than ambiance.
Right.
Also about like not about finding them, because as we found out, if you're in a desert landscape but you're in a building, you're going to decompose a lot more like thoroughly, a lot more stinkily.
Or if
Like
they
you're
don't
more
find
you're
you
more
and then
likely to be found if you're in a building, not just because of your location, because of like your decomposition, you know.
or if
Exposure.
You're going to be sinky.
a building is built over the remains, and then how are you ever going to find out?
Yeah.
If they don't find it during the building process, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So, after the discovery of the bodies, it was revealed that Albuquerque's police missing persons department, which consists of a single detective, one
great.
person covers
That's
all of missing
fucking
persons
fabulous.
for Albuquerque,
Cool.
Oh, that's not good.
had a list of 16 area sex workers that had disappeared between 2001 and 2006. So there were 16 known disappearances. So they were reported missing despite the high risk lifestyle and, you know, dislocation from family. However, it seems that until the 2009 discovery of the burial site, no investigations were done into the whereabouts of any of these 16 women. So they were known to be missing persons, and they just did not. They didn't look into any of them.
Oh my God.
It was just like sex worker missing. Okay, I'll write down the name.
Oh.
Done.
Ugh.
The fact that they're humans just escaped them.
Yep. It wasn't until they found the bodies that they decided to start to investigate.
Jesus
So
Christ.
9 of the women that were on this list of 16 are known victims at the burial site.
Oh my God.
So they could have prevented, if they had searched for the first one and been successful, they could have prevented the other 8.
No fucking shit. Jesus Christ.
The fates of the other 7 are still unknown, like the other 7 on that list of 16.
Yeah.
So that's why people are thinking that there could be another burial site with those other 7 or some of those 7 if it was all done by one person.
Ugh.
So these women are also mostly Hispanic and in the same age range as the other victims. So very, very similar profiles. But at the same time, like, there could be a similar profile to sex workers in that particular, micro region. So in the same 2018 interview, Police Chief Mike Geyer described how in the years since the initial discovery of the bodies, investigators have used satellite imagery, helicopters, and ground-penetrating radar to search for a possible second burial site, but they've had no success. On this, Geyer said, quote, "My biggest fear is that it's there somewhere that we can't access it because of development. And I don't know how, without having some solid links, we could cut through somebody's basement or something like that."
So it's like too late now.
It could be 'cause
People
they did
live
all
there.
that building.
Yeah.
It's totally some goldfinch shit.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, honey.
And although, actually, I don't know when the Goldfinch was written. Maybe she was inspired by this case. I'm not sure.
I think it was like 2012, 2013.
So, although Albuquerque police insist that they are still prioritizing this case, recent scandals that the department has been involved in have undermined confidence in that claim,
You don't say.
including accusations that a state police officer and an Albuquerque police officer sexually assaulted multiple sex workers.
Oh, okay.
Which is like not surprising. I'm not surprised.
Emphasizing.
I'm emphasizing.
Yep. the
Because
horrific nature of this absolute
a big
nonsense.
part of the high risk lifestyles of sex workers is fucking violence from law enforcement.
Yep.
According to Dirk Gibson, lack of police motivation combined with a lack of pressure from the public has doomed this case to remaining unsolved. And this is going to be a very rough quote, so just heads up. This is his quote. In his words, quote, Albuquerqueans don't relate to the victims. They think they're just a bunch of hookers and drug addicts. Police budgets are stretched thin. There's so little money and there's so many crimes. Investigating a 10-year-old crime where the police think that the victims had it coming, there's just no incentive for that.
Oh my God.
So obviously this guy doesn't believe that. He's characterizing something that he is critiquing. So despite the fact that there have been no new leads in recent years, or at least not any that have been revealed to the public, the West Mesa murders have never been designated a cold case.
Oh.
Since 2009, as the housing market recovered, the development of the West Mesa continued to grow rapidly. A small memorial park was built over the acre of land where the 11 bodies were found, but the other 95 acres of that same lot have so far remained undeveloped.
Wow.
So if it's near enough by, then there's a chance it could be found. But it does sound like they went through kind of like a big rush to check, that 100-acre plot for another burial site.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
It's stuff like this where I'm like, we really might never know.
We might never know. I think that this, what's his name? Montoya? Lorenzo Montoya, who died in 2006. I think that there's definitely a possibility there.
Yeah.
It matched his MO. He lived 2 miles from the site.
That proximity is pretty damning.
Yeah. And the last victim was in 2005, and he died in 2006.
Yeah. So it makes sense that he's not killing anymore because he's that's wild.
Yeah. So that's a very famous case. It would take a whole series of podcast episodes to get into all of the details of that case, but that's the overview.
Well, good job.
Yes, thank you. God. Ugh, makes me ill.
Well, maybe somebody can solve it while we're on our sponsor break.
Yeah, let's hear a word from our sponsor. So like so many other people on the planet, I have spent the last year and a half just in my pajamas, essentially.
Free balling it.
Just free balling it. So
Big time.
as the world kind of wakes back up again, and you probably should be putting on real clothes, you really want to stay comfortable. Your standards for comfort are through the roof right now. And Third Love creates high-quality underwear, sleep, and loungewear, delivering life-changing comfort that your body loves being in. With cup sizes from AA through I, including exclusive half cups, and lounge and sleepwear in sizes extra small to 3X, you can get ready to feel good no matter how you are forced to dress. My boobs are 2 completely different sizes, and Third Love offers that absolutely magical unicorn of a bra that has, you can adjust the cup sizes. Each boob.
Yeah, that's epic.
Absolutely incredible. I have never found that from any other company. It's just, it's magic. I love it. And they're super comfortable. I've gone completely wireless.
Yep. Oh, that's the love of my life because Third Love has that new seamless collection called Form.
Yes.
These are wireless bras with form-fitting undies. They have limitless stretch, which are there any more beautiful words in the English language than limitless stretch? Yes. Maybe these words. And endless comfort that disappears under your clothes so you're not dealing with lines,
Yeah.
It's the best. And you did mention loungewear. They are making washable silk pajamas.
Oh, I like that phrase too.
Yeah, so this is luxury that is almost too easy. Third Love took silk and then they added a soft like a peach touch for extra good feelings while getting your 8 hours. And they can go in the washing machine.
I love that.
Y'all, I can't. It's too exciting. I can't deal with it.
So Third Love knows that you deserve to feel comfortable and confident 24/7. So right now they are offering our listeners 20% off your first order. Go to thirdlove.com/gals, GALS, right now to find your perfect fitting bra and get 20% off your first purchase. One more time, that's thirdlove.com/gals for 20% off today, and treat your whole bod.
Treat it. Okay, if you're like me and a large percentage of America and you dread looking at your credit card statements, you're not alone. Debt can feel really overwhelming, but Upstart can help you on your path to financial freedom, and here is how they do it. So Upstart is the fast and easy way to pay off your debt with a personal loan all online. We love doing things remotely these days. So whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high-interest debt, or just funding personal expenses, things happen. Sometimes we need a little boost. Over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get one fixed monthly payment. Upstart knows that you're more than just your credit score and is expanding access to affordable credit. And unlike other lenders, Upstart considers your income and your current employment to find you a smarter rate for your loan. So with a 5-minute online rate check, you can see your rate upfront for loans between $1,000 to $50,000, and you can receive funds as fast as 1 business day after accepting your loan. It's pretty amazing.
That is incredible. So find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/gals. That's upstart.com/gals. And don't forget to use our URL to let them know we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. One more time, go to upstart.com/gals and treat your debt relief.
Treat it. Are you ready to get grossed out by another case?
No.
Grosser.
It's a lateral move in grossness.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm fine.
And I really need to have a word with our fan picker because you know that I I hate cold cases. Like my ADHD hyperfixation plus my anxiety disorder can't handle unanswered questions in general.
Yeah. And you're a Libra.
It's a lot.
You hate it.
So I hate it. This week, I am covering the mystery of the Las Cruces Bowling Alley Massacre.
Oh, great.
Oh, it's so fucking sad.
Sounds super fun.
Great.
That sounds
I love anything called a
lovely.
massacre. It's just casual Monday. Here we go.
Especially something as festive as La Cruces Bowling Alley.
Las Cruces.
Massacre.
Yeah. Yeah. Terrible.
It sounded really fun.
It
like
does
it could
sound
be
kind of fun. Massacre.
Las Cruces Bowling Alley Massacre.
It was a hard turn.
Well, like Kenya likes to say, get your laughs out now.
Oh.
So this is truly a mystery, and one that was featured on our beloved Unsolved Mysteries.
Yes.
But let's start by going back in time to February 10th, 1990, in Las Cruces, New Mexico. That morning, the morning of the 10th, the manager of Las Cruces Bowl, 34-year-old Stephanie Senek, was in her...
Unrelated to the bowling alley.
Unrelated. Well, actually, she is related to the bowling
It's
alley.
actually a ceramics studio, but it's fine.
She is related to
She's
the bowling alley,
related.
though.
I was joking.
I know. It's just funny because she is, though. So she was in her office going about her usual morning opening duties. This was a family business, so her dad owned the bowling alley, and she worked there. And the business, the bowling alley, offered like a little daycare for parents while they bowled, and employees who worked there could also use this like daycare service just at work when they couldn't get a sitter at home.
Cool.
Yeah. And the daycare, I'm using quotes for our patrons can see it, but non-patrons, you just have to imagine the quotes or join Patreon at $1 or more. I imagine it wasn't like a licensed daycare because Stephanie's daughter, who's 12, would like
It wasn't
come
like
and babysit all day.
licensed
Daycare. But it's like my 12-year-old daughter and some of the
It's
staff
babysitting.
are babysitting while you bowl for a couple hours.
It's
I think
babysitting
it's great.
on premises.
On premises, you're 20 feet away drinking a pitcher of beer.
You wouldn't want this to be your child's sole access to
Exactly.
social and emotional learning.
Probably, it was the 90s. A lot of indoor smoking on those lands.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
I can smell it.
Smell it from here. So Stephanie's 12-year-old daughter, Melissa, would come in and work, and Melissa was there that day to cover childcare with her friend and classmate, 13-year-old Amy Hauser.
Yep.
Another employee, a cook named Ida Holguin, was also doing her opening routine when a man came in through the back kitchen door, which she had left unlocked because she was working in the kitchen and like preparing to receive food deliveries. It's Monday morning. She's coming in and out, whatever.
Yeah.
They held her, or this gunman held her at gunpoint and demanded she take him to Stephanie's office, like the manager's office.
Jesus.
When they entered the office, Stephanie, her daughter Melissa, and Melissa's friend Amy were there held at gunpoint by another intruder. So there are two people. Despite what I wrote in my notes, that's that.
Yeah.
There are two of them.
Okay.
This seemingly began as a routine holdup. The gunman instructed Ida, Melissa, and Amy to lay down on the floor and for Stephanie to open the safe. They took about $5,000 from the safe, but left an undisclosed amount of cash behind. I think it was undisclosed. My theory is that the police didn't want to release that little bit of information in case they caught somebody.
Right.
And then that could be like,
A detail that they can
yeah,
find.
like cross-checked.
Yeah.
Then another bowling alley employee arrived for work, a pin mechanic named Steve Tarrin. The 26-year-old had brought his children to work with him that day for Melissa and Amy to babysit. His 2-year-old named Valerie and his 6-year-old named Paula. When he didn't see anyone at the daycare center, which was unusual considering the alley was about to open, he wandered back to Stephanie's office to see what was going on.
I just don't think that there's maybe anything more 90s than that lax childcare scenario
I
at a
know.
bowling alley.
I love it. It's like, this is how community living should be. Come bowl, drop off the kids.
Absolutely.
It's so 90s.
It
like,
takes a
very
village. It takes a village.
the amount, I mean, I haven't been to a bowling alley since the 90s.
We spent a lot of time at the bowling alley together growing
Yeah,
up. And
that's
the
right.
laundromat next
There's
door.
like a hippie trusting culture there too.
The whole thing about it is
It's
it could
peak
only be
90s.
in 90. Yes.
And go ahead, here's $20. Go walk to the dollar store and pick out some candies. It's just 6 miles down the road.
Exactly.
Have a
Oh
nice
my
time.
God, exactly.
Yeah. Look for
You can
watch your
walk.
cars.
We
Yep,
grew
look
up
both
with
ways.
that trusting.
Oh,
Look
absolutely.
both ways.
We
I know.
absolutely grew up with that.
Yeah. We totally
Try to be back
did.
by dark.
Save 50 cents for the payphone to call me for a ride home.
Yeah.
You call collect.
Like,
Yes,
or
Call
you
from,
call
I'm ready to get
collect.
pizza from the bowling alley. Would you like to accept? No. Charges? No.
Mom, come get me.
Mom, I'm at the bowling alley. Ready to go. Oh my God, you guys, why are none of this is good. None of this is funny. I'm gonna feel,
It has changed so much.
I know. Okay.
I keep thinking those AOL CDs.
I know. All right, well,
I know we've talked about them, but like, oh my God.
again, get those laughs out. So Steven, he and his kids, his tiny kids, go to the office to see what's going on. Why is nobody working? And his arrival startled, apparently, the gunman, who then opened fire on all 7 people in the room,
Oh, no.
including a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 6-year-old.
Jesus Christ.
There were only 3 adults who weren't the gunman in that room. Everyone else was a child.
Dear God.
Yeah, it's fucked. They then set fire to Stephanie's office and fled. 13-year-old Amy.
For $5,000.
We'll get to it, but yes.
Okay.
13-year-old Amy, 6-year-old Paula, and 26-year-old Steven died at the scene from their gunshot wounds. 2-year-old Valerie died later at the hospital. Stephanie's daughter, Melissa, who, remember, only 12 years old, survived being shot 5 times, including once in the head.
fuck?
And crawled to the phone and called 911, saving the lives of her mother, Stephanie, and the cook, Ida. And her 911 call is absolutely... And herself, yep. Absolutely heartbreaking. I didn't listen to it. I read a little bit of the transcript, but I hate 911 calls. They're so horrifying. But on the phone, she said, "Please hurry. It hurts. I'm the only one conscious. I'm holding my mommy." This poor girl.
God, she's fucking fat. She's what, 12?
12.
She's 12.
And she's been shot 5 times.
And she's just please get here. Tragically, Stephanie, the mom, sustained long-term injuries that I'm not really certain the details of, but likely some extensive trauma and likely brain trauma. And she passed away 9 years after this attack as a result of her injuries.
Jeez.
So she
my
survived
God.
for 9 years and then died from complications.
So 2 people randomly went into a fucking bowling alley, got startled while stealing $5,000, and shot a bunch of children and adults.
That is one theory. It's been 31 years and this case is still unsolved, but there are some things that we do know. The survivors were able to give descriptions of the attackers. One young, possibly Mexican-American male, 29 or 30 years old, about 5 feet, 50 feet and 10 inches tall, weighing about 170 pounds.
I've seen him.
Pretty noticeable.
His name is
Noticeable
Paul
height.
Bunyan. He lives in Bemidji, Minnesota.
The second was a young blue ox. Okay, no, but anyway. With dark wavy hair, light-colored eyes, and no accent when he spoke. Okay. The other suspect was an older, possibly Mexican-American man, described as 45 or 50 years old, 5 feet 7 inches tall, weighing about 140 pounds, with thinning salt and pepper hair, a dark complexion, and a slight accent indicating Spanish as his primary language. Okay. Sketches of the 2 men were rendered in both 1990 and again in 2005 to show age progression. I believe I put the sketches on the drive. They were also said to be driving a tan or green van or utility vehicle, though it was never found. Another witness who was in the vicinity that day came forward. They were across the street on a ladder painting a building at the time, and he told police that he saw 2 men crossing Amador Avenue and running south. Detectives were able to lift some fingerprints from the bowling alley, but no DNA was recovered at the scene.
And imagine how many fucking handprints are
everywhere.
At a fucking bowling alley.
I mean, fortunately, it's very clear that the majority of the crime took place in the office, and so at least for prints,
they're not testing every ball.
Exactly. So they can kind of focus on that area to get as much evidence as possible, but that was very fucking little. The gun used to shoot the victims was a .22 caliber pistol, and it too was never recovered. So like I said, 31 years later, this case is still unsolved despite a huge push with a feature on Unsolved Mysteries, as well as Ida, the cook, appearing on the TV show I Survived.
Oh, it's so good.
Fucking amazing.
Good show.
So good. I don't think they make it anymore, but I think you can get it on Amazon and Hulu and stuff.
On My Favorite Murder, Karen covers a lot of her cases are just I saw this episode of I Survived.
I binged it so hard when it first came out.
It's a fucking great show.
It's just unbelievable, and it's so well done. Where it's just an interview with the survivor in a dark room, and then the reenactments are very brief and just little clips. It's not like Forensic Files. It's
but you don't even they don't even need to have they don't even need to have that many reenactments. The story is harrowing
compelling.
in itself.
Oh my
it's
God.
awful.
Anyway, these stories of survival are just
amazing,
unbelievable. So there's still a $30,000 reward in place for any information leading to an arrest in this case, and some theories remain plausible. And I went down a Reddit rabbit hole to get some insights.
I expected nothing else, nothing less.
So one user, Broke Sonic, writes, quote, "Rumor is the owner, so Stephanie's dad, maybe was involved in drugs, and drug cartel hitmen went to get revenge for a debt."
I mean, that's the rumor in any kind of shoot 'em up.
I know.
That's it
is,
I'm
but
not critiquing you.
I'm not ruling it out. We'll get to it.
Possible. It's just a common theory. Don't
But
act Reddit.
sure.
Reddit Brock Sonic. Don't act like you're coming up with something
Well,
earth-shattering.
they're about to explain why they think this. You
Okay,
cut me
well,
off
I'm
in line
jumping
number
the
1.
gun.
The theory makes some sense since the Mexico border is not too far. Law enforcement could not find any leads, and Sweater Contact responded with, quote, "With the killers not being found, that theory does make sense, especially considering they showed no mercy to the children involved. However, I'm surprised that they didn't ensure the death of all of the victims prior to leaving if they were professionals," which I completely agree with.
No double tap.
Seems like a serious oversight if this was a drug-related or otherwise professional killing, and the killers didn't wear masks or gloves, which doesn't seem very professional to me. However, the same month in Las Cruces, apparently someone was killed at a gas station after being tied up and shot execution style, and only $500 appeared to be taken from the scene. So it's like there are these two weird murders with
The tying up
all
is very
this.
interesting.
It is, but I don't know. It's probably not related, but it's just one theory. The killer in this case was also never caught and this additional situation seemed to support the idea that area locals might be involved in the drug trade and were being targeted. Another user chimed in saying, quote, "New Mexico native here. I am not surprised that this is unsolved. New Mexico law enforcement is shockingly incompetent, corrupt, and unmotivated, especially if the victims don't rate as important or the perpetrators are well connected or from the right families. Even today, many cases of child murders go unsolved or unprosecuted." Unfortunately, that problem does exist all over the place.
Right.
Wow.
The documentary A Nightmare in Las Cruces, which was made 20 years after the attack, alleges that the owner of the bowling alley was indeed involved with drugs and deep in debt.
Okay.
Detectives remarked at how uncooperative he was being throughout the investigation, and he quickly pushed to reopen the bowling alley barely 2 weeks after the attack, which could have happened for a number of reasons. He may have been laundering money or trying to move money or just pay back this debt, or he could have been like an operation spot, drop
I
off
could
and pick
see
up
a
location.
bowling alley being a very classic 90s money
For sure.
laundering.
And I mean,
spot.
it's New
There's no
Mexico.
way- there's no way a bowling alley can afford to exist if it's not a money laundering.
I mean, I don't know.
spot.
It's New Mexico, and I'm a big
In
Breaking
a small
Bad
town.
fan. So
Yeah. In a small
that's where
town,
my head
absolutely,
goes,
yes.
but who knows? Some believe these two men were sent to get the debt repaid and send a message, but then were potentially harbored in New Mexico for a day or two after the killings and then had assistance fleeing to Mexico, where they have either remained unfound or were executed by their own bosses for their sloppy work. People are very attached to this theory because they didn't take all of the money out of the safe and they killed all of these people. So, like, they think they might have been sending a message.
instead of trying to get money.
Yeah, and that these guys clearly didn't hesitate to kill children for barely $5,000. It's like, why? Like, it's not fucking worth it.
Unless somebody really was startled
Right.
and had an automatic and just like, you know.
And I mean, it's a 22 caliber. I don't know if it was a semi-automatic. I don't remember, but like that's the thing that I think happened. I think if Steven, the pin mechanic, walked in and derailed their robbery, like if that accounts for the money that was left behind and their like irrational response,
Right.
and like lack of a better term, overkill to being discovered by someone that they didn't
Overkill
suspect.
and yet also not enough kill
Right.
in that they didn't actually check to make sure that their victims were dead and
Right.
couldn't identify them.
And that's where I like
kill.
Yeah, I keep getting stuck on Steven walking in on them. Like a theory that
Yeah.
makes sense to me also that I read is that Steven may have recognized these individuals and they knew him as well, also
Yeah.
leading them to like panic and open fire, sloppily try to cover their tracks as they lit the office on fire, but like it
something
barely
went
ca-
wrong.
yeah.
Something went sideways.
Yeah, they weren't
Yeah.
expecting to be
Mm-hmm.
caught and recognized, and they freaked out and got the fuck out of there and have just gotten lucky.
And
not been
another
caught.
one, the last one I'll consider because it also kind of fits, is the theory that they had been misled about the amount of money that was
Yeah.
there when they got tipped off to this hit.
I'm sure.
And their response was out of like anger and frustration.
Yeah.
Because that
Oh,
does
oh.
happen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
You know?
I thought you meant, okay, you're talking about that relating to the hitman theory.
I meant like
Just the payoff.
the payoff for like they got a tip that like, oh, this bowling alley has a safe and it has like, $25,000 in it. And then they get there and it's $5,000 and they're like, what the fuck? And they're pissed and go guns blazing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I
think that could relate to that theory. I think it very similar but slightly different. It could relate to some newbie dummy robbers, hearing a rumor that, there's a lot of cash at the bowling alley.
Right.
So they go try to rob it. They get startled. They freak out. They're unprofessional, whatever. And side note, they shouldn't have even tried to rob it in the first place because it's only at $5,000.
Yeah, I feel like they also seem to be, and obviously we can't confirm this, but from eyewitness accounts and the older, younger kind of like comparison, I think that they might be like a father-son.
Yeah, they kind of look related.
Duo. And maybe, I don't know, like usually shit like this happens out of desperation in one way or another. Maybe they were involved with the cartel and had to go carry out this act. Maybe they were themselves deep in debt for whatever reason and had their whole livelihood held on this possible robbery, and then there's barely enough in the safe for them to, get away from their problem.
I mean, it could be anything.
Like
it could be
anything.
Nothing drugs related. Yeah.
It's just so sad that like DNA was not recovered from the scene. None of the fingerprints match. And just all of these people died. And then the 3 survivors, well, now 2 survivors, have to live with this trauma forever. And there's no closure because these guys are just gone.
Yep.
No trace, like disappeared. It's wild. But anyway, that is my case.
Well,
it's a nice job.
So sad.
Good job. I'm horrified and fascinated and bummed out. Thank you so much, Stella Coventry. This was an interesting topic.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. I actually enjoyed exploring decomposition in an alternative environs.
Mm-hmm. I know. I want to go to the desert. I'm feeling a desert.
I want to go to a fucking body farm.
Let's go.
I really do.
I love the desert.
So thank you to Stella, and we will see you next week.
That's right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Wine and Crime. Our cover art is by Kala Yip, music by Phil Young and Corey Wendell, editing by Jonathan Camp. Check out our website and blog at wineandcrimepodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Wine and Crime Pod. If you have questions, answers, or recommendations to share, email us at wineandcrimepodcast@gmail.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, basically wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And if you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. It is the best way to spread the word. If you'd like to show your support and get a shout out on air, visit our Patreon page to keep this podcast and the wine flowing. Cheers.